recording will be made available as soon as possible after the meeting has concluded. As always, we welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings, although I've had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. May I remind members that as per statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask that all members please use your cameras for the duration of the meeting? Please can I also ask members, that's all of us as we're on Teams, to refrain from using the chat function and instead to use the raised hand icon to indicate when you'd like to speak. Also remember to keep your microphone muted when you're not talking. So moving on to the agenda, we've got item number 1 is attendance and apologies. Jade.
Thanks, Chair. I haven't received any apologies.
I've received one apology from Councillor Carl Gordon.
I will note that. Thank you.
Anyone else? In which case, moving on, thank you very much, to agenda item number 2, we have the declarations of interest, which is again back to Jade.
Yep. Thanks, Chair. So I'll read out the declarations of interest I've got, and then if the relevant member could just confirm those for me. So in respect of Councillor Best, I don't have any interest for yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic, thank you. And Councillor Williams, I have that yourself and your wife are both in receipt of a pension and a contributor to the fund. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. And in respect to yourself, Chair, I have that your close family members are in receipt of a pension.
That's correct, but I'm also paying into the fund.
Fantastic, thank you. Excellent,
thank you very much. Item number 3. This is pension fund, the pension fund annual report and accounts for 2022-2023. So I'd like to hand over to Alex.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. As you can see, Julie Rees has joined the meeting this evening, and Julie I'll invite her in a second just to make some comments on the ISA 260, which is the external audit report. Before I do that, though, I'll just make a couple of comments about with reference to the cover report around the process that we followed again this year. So members will be familiar now with this report. The purpose really is for the Pensions Committee to consider and approve the annual report and accounts for the 2022-23 period to the end of 31st of March 23. As a reminder, the pension fund is required to prepare a separate statement of accounts to that of the council, hence why this goes through its own governance process. Just a bit of a reminder about the steps that have been taken to date. So officers within my team have prepared the statement of accounts and the annual report within the council's closed down timetable window. A copy of the draft accounts were then submitted to the auditor in June, which was all on time and as expected. And the audit process has been undertaken throughout the summer and into the autumn. Actually, a copy of the draft report, annual report and accounts was shared with the Pensions Committee at the meeting in September. No material change to the version shared today, save for some minor amendments that were necessary as part of the final proofreading. The Pension Board, in their role as those charged with governance, considered this item at their meeting in October, and no concerns or comments that were needed to be raised at that point in time. And pleasingly, Audit Wales have signalled their intention to issue an unqualified opinion, which is a clean, positive opinion on the pension fund accounts, which is really pleasing. I think I pass on my thanks to the team internally once again this year for all their work to get us to this stage. Copy of the annual report and accounts, the annual report in which the accounts sit within is in the appendix. Just for reference, there's also a copy of the inquiries of management, which is a document that we prepare each year alongside the auditors, setting out a whole range of the governance process, and that's there for information purposes as well. I think before I conclude with final steps, Chair, I'll just invite Julie Rees to make some comments on the ISA 260, and for reference, that's page 131 of the pack.
Thank you, Alex. As Alex said, in your packs in Appendix 3, you've got a copy of our Audit of Accounts report. Before the accounts are approved, we're required by Auditing Standard 260 to report to you certain matters. So the purpose of the report is to set those out for you today. So in terms of the status of the audit is complete now, subject just to the final checks on the assigned version we receive post this meeting and our confirmation of post-balance sheet events up to the date the Auditor General is due to sign, which is Wednesday. We intend to recommend to the Auditor General he signs an unqualified opinion that Alex has already referred to, and the draft opinion is included in Appendix 1 in the report. And alongside the signed accounts, we request a letter of representations from both management and those charged with government. The suggested representations are set out in Appendix 2. They're standard representations, and we haven't asked for any additional ones to be added this year in respect to this specific pension fund post the audit. So in terms of those issues I need to raise through today, in terms of issues arising outside from the audit, I'm pleased to say it's a clean report. There is no uncorrected misstatements which remain uncorrected. In terms of any corrections that were made during the audit, they were all presentational, typographical in nature, nothing of significance that I need to bring to your attention today, which is really pleasing. And then in terms of any other significant issues arising from the audit that I need to bring to your attention, I haven't got any. So it's a clean report, same as last year, which is excellent news. And my thanks to Alex, Lisa, Joe for their assistance during the audit, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. I mean, Jay, just to conclude, I think subject to any questions there, subject to final approval, the following actions really are for the accounts to be signed by yourself as chair and the chief finance officer. The chair also signed a letter of representation, and then final versions of the documents will be shared with Audit Wales and published on the website by the 1st of December, which is the start deadline.
Okay, you finished? Great, thank you, Alex, and thank you very much for joining us, Julie, for what is hopefully just going to be a very a short and pretty sort of on the nose meeting to get this signed off today. So I see that Councillor Williams already has his hand up. So David, your question, please.
It's really just for sort of context. Oh, sorry, have I missed it again? No, it's really just for context as to whether anything other than an unqualified opinion has occurred in the recent past, and whether that is something that has been known to happen in the recent past with separate audits of pension funds.
Okay,
short answer from me, Councillor Williams.
There hasn't,
to my knowledge, from our pension fund, nor any of our colleagues across Wales. Should Julie's got any further update?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Julie.
No, as Alex says, I'm not aware of any, certainly not on this fund, and I'm not aware of any on the pension funds in recent history.
No, that's fine. It was just sort of to get some context, because I thought that everything was pretty stringent, but it was just to sort of see if there was any previous history, I suppose. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Alfie, any questions from you?
No, I need to say that it seems to be a very good year to exceed the benchmark.
It does. You don't have to, but I know Ian's on the call, and obviously Ian, there was discussion about the draft report at the pension board meeting last month, and I know there was nothing major or no major questions that came from the board to the committee. But I'm just wondering, are there any points or any issues you'd like to raise before we ratify the report?
Thank you, Chair. The board were happy with the presentation made last meeting, and no questions from the board. Thank you.
I can see someone has his hand up though. So Nigel.
Yeah, it's not a question, but obviously this concludes the external audit activity largely in Torfaen, because we've obviously done the main set of accounts, and now we've done the pension funds accounts. I don't recall seeing a cleaner ISA 260. I have to be honest, and I've read quite a lot of ISA 260s. So it's just to thank Julie and her colleagues, because I know that within Audit Wales they've had to move some stuff around, and I think Torfaen has benefited, as has the pension fund, with being relatively early in the process relative to other authorities and other funds in Wales. And I know that hasn't been easy for Julie, Richard, and Alice in Audit Wales. So that's it's worth putting that on record. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Nigel. David, your hand's still up. Is that a new question or is that a legacy from last time?
It was really just sort of passing on the observation that I was able to attend the pension board as an observer. So it's my second look at this, and I confirm the points that Ian made, and I have nothing further to add.
In which case, I also attended the pension board, so I can triply ratify that everyone's telling the truth and that everybody was very happy with the accounts this year. So I think before we move on to the recommendations, I'd just like to add my voice to what Nigel said and to members have said, that to thank Alex, to thank Lisa, to thank Joanne, who are on the call, and all the rest of the staff that worked so hard on the accounts this year. And again, also Julie, to extend my thanks to you and your team from Audit Wales for giving us such a clean bill of health. There we go. I think it's always a good thing to say thank you and well done to. In which case then, if I can point members to page 4 of the report, perhaps the recommendations. So you have 3 recommendations in front of us today. So it's recommended that the committee A, approves the pension fund annual report and accounts for 2022-23. B, you endorse the chair of the pensions committee, so that's me, and the chief financial officer, so that's Nigel, signing the accounts indicating our approval, which I think we'll sign tomorrow, and then endorse both the chair and then endorse me signing the letter of representation in respect to the pension fund. So David, Alfie, if I can see an indication, thumbs up from David, hands up from Alfie, hands up from me. So I think we can take it that item, all the recommendations are agreed to. So thank you very much, everyone. Moving swiftly on then, we've got another agenda item, which again is an update from an item that Alex talked us through at the last full meeting of the committee. So hopefully this shouldn't come like a thunderbolt from the blue either. But agenda item number 4, we have pension fund cash management strategy. So Alex, over to you. Or Nigel, is your hand up first in relation to this item or the previous item?
The previous item.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to sign the letter of representation as well.
Yeah.
It isn't just you as the chair. Just
fine.
so you know that.
You're not giving me 100%. You're not giving me 100% responsibility.
Well, that's what made me have a shiver. See.
Right, I'll come and talk to you tomorrow. Anyway, can we have it noted, please, Jade, that actually we are both signing the letter and we've both been endorsed, so nobody can. I'm not running off with anything. Okay, right. Thank you for that, Nigel. And then back to where we were then. Alex, please, for item number 4 on the pension fund cash management strategy.
Sure. Yeah, and apologies, that's an oversight on my part on the final point of the recommendation. Okay. In terms of the next item, then. So, just briefly on this one, it's really circumstances that have driven the need to bring a report at relatively short notice on this. Although I think we'll provide more context at the next planned meeting in December. So, just a reminder, the pension fund obviously has an investment strategy. Within that, there's a cash management strategy. Every year we give consideration to what is really a low level risk cash strategy. Essentially, the funds internally, the Treasury management team utilise money market or overnight investment funds really just to hold surplus cash on deposit. But essentially, what we're ensuring is that we have that money available for operational purposes, such as paying pensioners as part of the payroll, for example. For a number of years, especially since I've been in post, the interest rate market has been so low that it hasn't been beneficial to hold the strategic allocation of 1%. That would be around 35 to 40 million on current values. And instead, we've held typically around 10 to 15 million in cash, as I said, just really for operational purposes. We find ourselves now in an improving interest rate environment. From a savings perspective, not so much in repayment of debt, but from the pension fund's purpose, that's a more attractive environment for us to be in now. That's not to say that we would necessarily be falling on this unless we had to, though, as we see our long-term investments as the primary allocation of those resources. But essentially, just an update on the item I presented in September. a couple of our investments, long-term investments that we've had, are going through a process of liquidating in one form or another, one going through a merger, which we've decided at this stage not to pursue, whilst we continue to look at what that merged product might be. And we've also been notified during in the last quarter, but post the September meeting, of another investment that essentially is the investment manager has decided to close, and so that will self-liquidate in January. What that means is that quite unusually we'll have circa 160 million of cash returned to the fund over the next 3 months. 100 million of that will be this week, and a further 60 million in early January as the second of those two funds liquidates. Really, the purpose of the report is that the current parameters around our cash strategy don't accommodate this level of cash, or at least in a way that we would look to maximise the interest return potential on them as part of fiduciary duty. And so the proposal that I've set out in this report is that on a short-term basis, and I've suggested up to 6 months, in essence, essentially we'll be looking to bring back a more detailed piece of consideration in December around how we think about cash moving forward. But what we're essentially asking for is to increase the limits that are already in place and are referred to on page 146 of your pack. The table there is essentially what's been taken to the March meeting of the committee, and that goes every year. Basically, we're looking to use strong counterparties, high credit quality banks, UK banks, to hold our cash deposits. As I said, we've typically utilised money markets, but what we're actually proposing is, with the level of cash I've talked about the fund receiving in the next couple of days and over the next couple of months, is to use the longer term deposits. By longer term, there's anything from 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, for example. The limit is 6 months. We probably wouldn't take that up because I don't think the level of interest or the interest rates offered on that duration of deposit actually warrants the need. I think we'll have longer term investment solutions certainly within 6 months, but I would imagine within 3 months. And so what we're proposing, subject to this report being supported, is that we would utilise everything from 7 days through to 3 months worth deposit accounts. As I said, the council's treasury team are advised by Link, who are the treasury advisors. I've had a couple of conversations with them, and we're in a position to access the relevant parts of the market we need, subject to the decision being taken. And I think there was a comment from the chair in advance just to perhaps quantify the impact. So I think what we would expect on 100 million's worth of investment is we could generate potentially £400,000 per month of interest. As I say, it's a shorter term solution, and that interest will be paid on maturity of that investment. So if it's 30 days, for example, I think what we're hoping to do is utilise those accounts now. As I say, there'll be a report in December which will provide a longer term thinking. I think we'll just take that from there, but I don't think there's any need for us to extend these projects beyond 6 months. I think that should be sufficient for our purposes. I think I'll probably pause there in case there's any questions or any comments on what I've just said before the recommendations, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So again, just to surmise what's going on here, we need to find somewhere to put this 100 million or so pound that we're taking out from the liquidated assets. And I think we've come to the conclusion that this is the best place to put it in the short term. But obviously, to ensure that we do it correctly and legally, Alex needs to bring it to the meeting to ensure that the members are happy with this course of action. David. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm struggling a bit with the button today. Just a quick question, really. I think you've answered this, Alex, but it was a case. Is it the case then that the council itself manages this rather than sort of brokers that we might use for some of our other investments?
The council similarly to the pension fund, the council administer the treasury service, but it's all managed through brokers. So Link as the treasury advisor and subsequently brokers. So we take advice externally from experts in the field. I should just reiterate that we would only utilise UK banks as part of this proposal. We wouldn't be looking to utilise banks outside of the UK at this stage.
And then I suppose sorry, if I may, Chair.
Yeah, of course.
The other point was simply does this, given that we've just gone through audit report, does this sort of constitute a greater risk in terms of our exposure and potentially audit risk, I suppose? I don't think so, but I'd welcome a view.
No, to my mind, no, it doesn't. As I say, we're utilising the strongest counterparties available to us, which are high credit-worthy banks, UK domiciled. I think what the additional flexibilities in the approach that we're looking to take means that we can spread that 160 million I talked about across a couple of different banks, so we wouldn't be putting it all with one institution essentially. So that's another way that we would manage that risk.
Thank you, Alex. I've got Alfie.
Thank you. Just on the point of reallocating it from multi-assets to cash, I take it that the one which is liquidating is multi-asset. Going forward from the December meeting into next year, would we look to be reinvesting that in multi-assets? Is there some benefit that comes from the diversification, or is it just what you call funds which don't fit into these set categories?
It's a good observation, and yeah, that's correct. Your understanding is correct. So short term, we will fund the increase in allocation from multi-asset, which is where the proceeds are coming from. We've, as I say, we've been looking at, with one of our investment managers in particular, an alternative product that they have. We just haven't had time to carry out the full extent of due diligence, and so we see this as short term. We have appetite for multi-asset in the longer term, and we do see it as a tactical diversifier, which is something we don't have so much of in the portfolio. So I would expect us to still have an allocation beyond the strategy review, and we'll utilise that as soon as possible once we've carried out the due diligence.
That's great, thank you.
So, Polly, you got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Just a reminder to Councillor Haller of the need to declare an interest if he's going to take part in the debate or vote on the matter.
Okay, thank you very much.
I missed the beginning, so I will probably just act as an observer.
Okay, cheers, John. Nice to see you. Any other questions then from members or observations from members on this? Like I said, Alex did signpost this quite clearly at the last meeting. So people are happy then. I'll just to clarify, John, you're going to observe the meeting, are you, not take part?
Yes, I missed the first 15 minutes. I've got a resident with structural problems in the wind.
Okay, fine. In which case, I shan't call for your vote when I'm counting them. In which case, then, to Alfie and to David, can I draw your attention to page 147, and the recommendation is that members approve on a short-term basis, lasting no more than 6 months, the revised parameters set out in section 4 of the report to enable us to accept the money into UK bank accounts for the short to medium term. Is everyone happy with that? Alfie, yes. David, yes. Me, yes. There we go. That's all voted through. So thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the substantive part of the meeting then. So just to say, we have agenda item number 5, which is the date of the next meeting, which is an ordinary meeting, not this extraordinary meeting. So the date of the next meeting is the 11th of December 2023. And with that, I'll bring the formal meeting to an end. So Jade, we can stop recording. Thank you very much.